Hey guys, Cat7 here. Okay, it is Thursday, November 19th, 2020, and I'd like to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. All right, guys, well, I'm going to continue with part two in my series looking into the accounts of the quote unquote giants, or large hominids, as I like to call them, international. And in this video, we're going to look at an account from Greenland. And what's so interesting about this account is that it quite possibly shows that there were actual living giants. I mean, quite some height, 9 foot to be exact. And this was what was reported in the early 20th century, but it shouldn't really surprise anybody, considering that I did show on this channel the accounts of the Watusi tribe, which is a very interesting dynamic, social dynamic going on there. At least in the mid 20th century, I don't know what happened to the Watusi after that. These rather large people, giant people, 7 foot tall or better in modern times, really. And also the accounts of the Fiji chiefs of the Fiji Islands, where these guys are 7 foot 7 inches tall, and built like Andre the Giant. And so it shouldn't surprise anybody that there was actual accounts from the 20th century of you know actual living giants in these remote places, and Greenland is certainly a remote place. So it's just so interesting to hear about it, and there's some other aspects to it that is quite interesting too. So let's just read about it. This first one is from, I guess, these two accounts from the New York Times. I think this was first a short article, December 19th, 1904. And then they had one in, I believe, their magazine section a few days later, a more complete article. So let's just look at this first one. So it's very interesting. And a couple of things about it's also very interesting. 9 feet tall in Greenland, the New York Times, December 19, 1904. A giant race in Greenland. Old Eskimo legend proves true. People 9 feet tall visit coast. Special to the New York Times, Philadelphia, December 18th. After a year's visit to the land of the Eskimos, Captain Christian Jensen of the cryolite bark Silicon arrived last night at his home here. The homeward trip from Ivigtut Bay, Greenland, began on October 4th. A strange tale is told by Captain Jensen of a remarkable race of giants, some of whom visited the Eskimos and Danes at the mining settlement at Arsik, 10 miles from Ivigtut Bay. These people had never before been seen even by the Eskimos. They are copper colored and are 7, 8, and even 9 feet tall. In features, they resemble the American Indians. These strange people, said Captain Jensen, represented to the Eskimos a traditional, almost legendary tribe of giants, stories of which had been handed down to them until they regarded the race as mythical. They cannot speak the language of the Eskimos and could only make known by signs that they had been driven from their homes in the interior by great storms and cold weather. So, what's interesting this too to me is this cryolite bark, because cryolite is a very rare mineral, and they're talking about if we get to Greenland here in summer 1940, they're showing this right here, this cryolite, which is what's also interesting about it. This is the only mineral, one of the only minerals on Earth, possibly the only mineral on Earth ever to be mined to commercial extinction. So it's very interesting to be finding these living giants here along with this cryolite. I don't know, it's just interesting to me anyway. But there is no more cryolite because they mined it all from here in Greenland. And it's just very interesting there. So anyway, let's look at this one that possibly is from the magazine, but it gets into it a little bit deeper. So this is like the same part that we just read in the article before from this is from the 25th, I guess, December 25th, 1904. So uh, it gets into it a little bit more here. So let's read the rest of it after that short piece from the 18th. It is thus made apparent, not for the first time in the story of exploration, that the race of the Anakim has not entirely perished from the world. They seem still to subsist in Audra's vast and deserts idle, and to live out their own lives and build the fabric of their obscure histories in remote spots of the earth, away from the common currents of mankind, and only contributory to their records to the tales of travelers, which are often, though not always, lies. If a tribe or many tribes of them can be tucked away in interior Greenland, unknown except for some dim legendary surmise century after century to their near neighbors, the Inuits, and to all the, and I think the article gets cut off slightly, but it continues up here, all parts, there would seem to be no reason why their kind in small tribal groups protected by peculiar territorial and climatic conditions should not subsist elsewhere, affording justification of the Bible declaration made in the morning of time that there were giants in those days. Magellan and the early sailors southward found something like them in Patagonia, not quite so top lofty as the storm driven Greenland visitors, but high enough to awaken a profound ethnological interest, not in the least abated in the 4 centuries which have come and gone since their sterile coasts and country and themselves, its towering inheritors, were discovered. They have held the record for tallness ever since, but would have to give it up now if the tale of the Captain Jensen and his Eskimo informants is confirmed by further testimony. One effect of this interesting report will no doubt be the setting in the direction of Iwikitut Bay, of a tide of showmen drawn from all quarters intent to capture one or more of those giants to be exploited for business purposes. An individual or family of them would make the fortune of any show, the outfit of Goliath now on the boards fading into insignificance as soon as their Greenland rivals made their appearance. So you can see how the interest in giants was just as great as ever in the early 20th century there. But here's a report of possibly giants living in the remote, wilderness there in Greenland. And as I said, we have modern day reports of the giant chieftains of the Fiji Islands, which I've shown here on this channel. People that only marry within their class and therefore carry the same DNA. And then with the Watusi people and their elongated type skulls, their dolichocephalic skulls, okay, and ruling over another people of just average stature there in Africa, at least in by 1939. Who knows what happened to it? Who knows what kind of? I'm sure they try to break this up and destroy this whole thing, and who knows what really happened to these people. We can't rely on any reports from there because the news is heavily filtered for our perusal. So, in any case, just a short one here, guys, because it's quite frosty out tonight. I'm outside making this video. I want to get home and get nice and toasty and warm here, but it's just interesting to think about this account here from the early 20th century of possibly living giants that would be even this tall, 8 or 9 feet tall, which far surpasses that of the Watusi or even the Fiji chiefs there that could have been living in the early 20th century. Whatever happened to them, if you look it up online, you can't find anything out about it. And this connection to this rare mineral, cryolite, that is now extinct, mined to commercial extinction. So it's, if you can find any of it, it's even more rare than anything. It seems to be this very strange, rare compound, you know. And you can read about more about it if you like. And what they did, used it for this commercial metal production and aluminum, etc., and bauxite production. And it was just mined into the 20th century until there was no more left. And it happens to come from Greenland. So just some maybe interesting possible connections there to think about. And I don't know, but more reports of giants from around the world, and could there be, giant, real live giants living in the wilderness there in Greenland in the early 20th century? Well, it's quite possible. Judging by what we know about the Watusi and the Fiji chiefs. Okay, as they say in that article there, when they were allowed to do their supposing without so much ridicule. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that little video there about Greenland there, and to think about these things and maybe possible connections with the cryolite, this sort of a strange compound, and the connections to civilizations in the past that we hardly know anything about, that had everything to do with these large hominids and humanoids, that quite possibly and certainly lived into the 20th century via some of these, remote places on Earth that had not been contaminated by other DNA. Anyway, if you liked the video, guys, please hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe, because we have some very interesting things to tell about the giants on this channel. All right, guys. Anyway, Bloodcat 7 signing out. Peace.